Welcome into Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Brendan Glasheen, joined tonight by BJ Cunningham and Tanner McGrath, getting you set for Tuesday, June 25th. Best bets in Major League Baseball. We have Best Bets episodes Mondays, Tuesdays, and Friday mornings during the regular season. So subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. 5-star ratings and reviews are encouraged for some giveaways, some swag, or a 1-year subscription to Action Pro, access to our pro tools and all that good stuff. Good edges on props, grading props, all that good stuff. You can also find us on the Action Network YouTube page. Subscribe to our channel there if you are watching, and hit the little bell. And anytime we go live or have any videos posted, short, long form, available to you there. We got a lot to stuff in. We're doing this the night before, so we'll see if what's available for us to discuss. A pretty good matchup on the mound tomorrow that we'll get to. That's interesting based on how this particular pitcher looked at his last start and how it relates to the slate for Tuesday. 15 games. BJ, I'll let you go first. A best bet for us, please.
Yeah, I like the Diamondbacks. First 5 innings, plus 110 against the Twins. Brandon Pfaadt is a positive regression candidate. His expected ERA is about a run lower. His actual ERA is sitting at 3.27. What Pfaadt has done a great job of this season is just dominating with all of his off-speed pitches. His fastball's been okay, kind of average, even grades out pretty average by Stuff Plus, but he's been very good at locating in the middle to upper part of the zone, generating a pretty decent fly ball rate. But his sweeper's been incredible. It's got Stuff Plus rating of 138. Opponents have a 35% whiff rate against it and only a 220 expected weighted on base average. If you know anything about the Twins, they're one of the best fastball hitting teams in baseball, but they're one of the worst against sweepers. So if Pfaadt decides to utilize a sweeper a little bit more often, I think he's going to be very successful. And be going against Joe Ryan, who pitched really, really well to start the season. And now that we've entered the month of June, things have kind of started to fall apart. He's got an xFIP now over 4. He's developed a little bit of a home run problem. His 4 starts in June, he's faced 2 elite lineups and 2 on the bottom end, and has struggled in all 4 of them. So this is a decent spot here for the Diamondbacks, especially at plus money with, and having essentially a pretty even offensive advantage, what I believe now is a pretty even pitching advantage and home field advantage. I really want to avoid the bullpens here, Brendan, though, because the Diamondbacks over the last 30 days are the worst xFIP in baseball, and the Twins are very good. So I would like to avoid the bullpens at all costs. So made the Diamondbacks minus 106 favorites for the first 5 innings. So I like them at plus 110.
Joe Ryan, 7 home runs allowed in 25 innings in the month of June.
4 against Houston.
Yeah, which, Astros, we've hit on them quite a bit. At some point, they're going to break through. Bloodbath of a series against the, at least Friday night against the Orioles over the weekend. Anyway, Tanner McGrath, best bet for Tuesday.
Yeah, first of all, co-sign the Snakes. Always looking to bet on Brandon Pfaadt, and we'll do so with BJ here. For my best bet, though, I'm going with the Reds on the money line. I'm looking for anything in the minus 120-ish range. Minus 130 is probably good. And we can start with, you can argue about the nuances between Mitch Keller and Hunter Green. I think that Green is the better pitcher, mostly because he's taken a bit of heat off of his arsenal, which has resulted in a much improved batted ball profile, which has brought his expected ERA down to a career low. And his stuff is still ridiculous. Somehow throwing not as hard hasn't really affected his overall stuff profile. It's just made his pitch to contact profile a lot better, which was his huge problem before. These two actually battled in this same matchup last week. Both Green and Keller tossed 7 shutout innings, but Green had 9 strikeouts, no walks, and a 25% hard contact rate allowed. Keller had 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a 38% hard contact rate allowed. The Pirates somehow scraped that game out with 1-0 with an 8th inning run against Nick Martinez. But I do think Green was the better pitcher in that game. And I think the more significant thing about this matchup is, while the Reds offense is inconsistent, that's pretty much how you can find them, I still think they have a higher ceiling than the Pirates, who have been among the worst lineups against right-handed pitching all season. And then over the past month now, 630 OPS, a 25% strikeout rate, 45% ground ball rate, and just a 22% fly ball rate. And hopefully a change in scenery back to Great American can get the Reds going while the Pirates remain stale, stuck in the mud. And as I've said so many times on this podcast and will continue to say, I love the Reds bullpen. It is a top 5 bullpen by all the metrics. Fernando Cruz's splitter is the best pitch in baseball, and they have depth. And the Pirates are closer to a below average bullpen. I actually like that unit as a whole, but they're just they can be electric, but they're erratic. A 10% walk rate, 97 location plus. And that's what happens when you employ Aroldis Chapman alongside Bednar and Holderman. So I think the Reds have the advantage in the 3 main phases of the game here. The Pirates probably have a defensive advantage, but the Reds definitely have a base running advantage. Behind Ellie, the Reds rank second in base running runs and have the most steals of any team. And so at moderately low juice, I'm willing to back the Reds to avenge last week's tough 1-0 loss. And let's go Reds.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on to our Fade the Public segment. We're looking ahead to Phillies and Tigers. Right now, we're doing this the night before. Phillies have an 8-1 lead late in Detroit. Tomorrow's pitching matchup, Ranger Suarez takes on Tarek Skubal, who is human. Roughed up against a good lineup, Braves lineup, 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, 2 homers, walked a couple, struck out 7. Also noticing the fly ball rate is going up the last couple starts too for Mr. Skubal. So with the concern of him the last couple of games, the last couple starts, the money's coming in on Philadelphia. Latest in the Action app, 81% of the bets, 96% of the cash on the Phillies. It's about a pick 'em right now, BJ. We were talking before we got started. You might not find an appropriate price point, but is the public onto something here about fading Skubal again? Because the last start was against a good Braves lineup.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of onto something, because if you go through this, matchup like piece by piece, Phillies have a better bullpen. They're much better against left-handed pitching. And Suarez's numbers overall for the season are better than Skubal's right now after getting roughed up over through to those 2 starts. Now, he did face 2 really good lineups, but the Phillies are 4th in Major League Baseball in weighted runs created plus against left-handed pitching. So it's, things could continue to snowball for him. He's just, he's leaving too many pitches up in the zone, and good hitters will take advantage of that. So he's got to get, that changeup down in the zone that's been so effective for him. He's got to be really good with that pitch, because the Phillies are a really good fastball hitting team. So for me, I don't really project much value on it. I have the Phillies at -110 and -106 for, the full game in first 5, total at 7.2. So I don't really project much value on it. If we see a ton of steam on Philadelphia, yes, of course, I might think about getting in on Skubal here if you can get him, I'd say plus 120-ish in that type of range. Probably would even need plus 125. But for me, it's a pass to stay away. But I think the public is definitely onto something, and quite frankly, I think they're right, honestly.
Okay. And Tanner, your thoughts here? And Ranger Suarez has been one of the pleasant surprises this year in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I'm going to echo most of what BJ said about this game. I'm happy that we got to talk about it, though, just because it's such an exciting pitching matchup by 2, Cy Young candidates. Unfortunately, yeah, the game is priced pretty fair, and I would probably side with the public, take the Phillies in the over, if anything. Like BJ said, the Phillies are in their better split. The Tigers are in their worst split, by the way. And Skubal has looked shaky. And the thing about Skubal is, and I wrote a big, long piece about him in the preseason, he's got awesome stuff, but all of his success comes from sequencing and decision-making, and how he attacks high and inside with fastballs and low and outside with secondary stuff. And that's how he does it. He generates early strikes and then generates low ball swings and misses and chases. And that's what has been so good about him. But he is prone to throwing a lot of mistake pitches. I talked about mistake rate last week, a metric you can find on Pitcher List that records essentially the rate of low stuff pitches you leave in the zone. Skubal ranks 140th among qualified pitchers in that stat, 7%. And that was something that really got him into a lot of trouble over the past few years, was hanging sliders against righties and then hanging changeups against lefties. And he's been doing that the last few times. And, it's like he can mess around and find out, for lack of a better word. And it seems like he's doing it more lately, and that would lead me towards the Phillies and the over. And of course, like BJ mentioned, The Phillies have a considerable bullpen and defensive advantage. The Tigers relievers, they've been okay, but they just don't have any stuff. So they don't earn strikeouts. They rely too much on pitch to contact, and that can get you in trouble against really good lineups like the Phillies. So I just think this game is priced way too sharp. So I will be staying away, but I am worried about Scooble. Hope he, comes back to the mean.
Ranger Suarez plus 350 to win NL Cy Young, only behind his teammate Zach Wheeler. Scooble is still your favorite in the American League at plus 180.
Phillies are so much better at
you,
pitching
Tanner. It should be a
than
fascinating
anyone.
game to watch. Yeah, I'm annoyed by it. Freaking Philadelphia. Anyway, what did I say? Let's go to the underdog of the day, consensus underdog. BJ, what do we have?
We got the Oakland A's plus 110 against the Angels. I know Tanner has a nice eulogy probably written for Tyler Anderson, so I'll let those comments.
Oh God,
let him
it's
say
Tyler Anderson he's going up against. Oh
yeah,
man.
so I'll let Tanner eulogize about that. But Mitch Spence hasn't been that bad. 3.6 expected ERA. He's an interesting pitcher because he basically only throws a cutter and a sweeper, so essentially they're kind of the same pitch in the same realm. At least they're going the same way. Both pitches have been fine. By Stuff Plus, they grade out pretty well. But most importantly, the Angels are in the bottom 5 of baseball in expected weighted on base average against both right-handed cutters and sweepers. So it's a pretty decent matchup for Oakland. And offensively, Oakland's below average against lefties, but they're not the worst team in baseball. Like, they're not the Marlins, they're not the Cardinals, they're not the Nationals. They have a 95 weighted runs created plus, so they're just slightly below average. So I think the A's should be favorites here on the road, and Tanner is going to tell you why Tyler Anderson is a big-time negative regression candidate.
He's the most overvalued pitcher on the planet. Yeah, he's the most overvalued pitcher on the planet. He leads all pitchers in Baseball Reference WAR, like 3.5, and he has exactly 1.0 Fangraphs WAR. And the difference between those two statistics is that Baseball Reference measures their WAR based on ERA and essentially run prevention across 9 innings, while Fangraphs uses FIP, which is fielding independent pitching. And what you find there is that his FIP is over 5. And the reason is because he doesn't strike out anybody. He has lost significant velocity on his fastball. His fastball now checks in under 90. And, that causes him to nibble around the edges more. And, he's walked 12% of batters over the last 2 years. So now he's seen a decrease in strikeouts, which has led to a stupidly low strikeout minus walk rate. And he's stranding like 87% of runners. And we've seen it so many times. He's getting lucky with sequencing. He's getting into luck box situations. And unfortunately, we get stuck in this cycle once per year with a pitcher who continues to overperform. We keep betting against him, and he just continues to do this. He's going to blow up any day now. I'm hoping it's today. And I think, though, a bigger part of this handicap for me is the A's have a monster bullpen advantage here. The A's, they have a good bullpen because they have a smart pitching staff that, like Boston's, tells their pitchers to not throw fastballs. And the Angels are among the more erratic bullpens in baseball. They're 26th in bullpen walk rate, 27th in bullpen location plus, and that's really bitten them lately. Halo relievers have posted a 7.1 ERA over the past 2 weeks. So, yeah, A's have the better starting pitcher. They have the better bullpen. They have a considerable run prevention advantage across all 9 innings, and that's worth taking a flyer on at plus 110 or better, in my opinion.
You can't convince me otherwise that Tyler Anderson is not one of Sean Zerillo's 100,000 followers in the Action Network app. At this point, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't have any data or research to back that up, but yeah, Zerillo hates him.
Yeah,
you all hate him, basically, is what we're getting at here.
The worst.
He's getting away with a lot. Yeah. All right, and he's an Angel, so it's perfect. Like he's on a wretched team. All right, couple more, and then we'll get out of here. Some final bets. BJ's got one more look, a total, and Tanner's got 2 totals as well.
Yeah, Mariners raise over 7.5 runs at even money. Luis Castillo has been pretty good this season, 3.8 expected ERA. but he's got a pretty massive splits between lefties and righties. Lefties have completely dominated him, over a 350 weighted on base average. And the Rays could get 5 left-handed bats in their lineups. They could have a nice split advantage there. Zach Ketel has horrible stuff. Plus, he's just rating. He's just a big-time location guy. Actually got one of the best location plus ratings in baseball. Even though his 2 pitches of slider and split and split finger have been decent, like they both grade out below 100 by Stuff Plus, which for off-speed pitches, especially those 2 that most pitchers are able to grade out pretty high, for them to be that low is actually pretty shocking. So I think he's somebody that's going to get hit around here pretty soon. I mean, his expected ERA is a little over 4, so pretty average. And the Rays bullpen continues to be terrible. Like they are still way in the bottom of baseball, which is not something you'd expect from Tampa Bay. But so the later this game goes on, I think the Rays could get hit around here. So predicted 8.2 runs, so like over 7.5 at even money.
All right. I'm worried about you. You mentioned a future, I think, before we got started. I'm worried about the Rays win total.
Yeah, and to make the playoffs doesn't look great right now either. But the Red Sox to make the playoffs is looking better by the day.
Well, I didn't believe quite like you did, so. But I'm happy for you.
Well, I actually, you know what, Brendan? I believed last year. This year, I didn't really believe, honestly. So maybe that's a key going into next season.
Yeah, just think the opposite of what you think.
Yeah, I came in the season being I came in the season being like, who's going to be our pitching? Like, what are we going to do? And then I was proven
Andrew Bailey
get straight to the team.
Yeah, it's the best thing we have.
Andrew Bailey has been sent from above to save Boston baseball.
He has.
Listeners are probably going to be annoyed with me because I did work some of this in last night talking to Zerillo and Charlie. I called Andrew Bailey like he's the equivalent of like Sean McVay, like or Ben Johnson. He's a QB, the QB whisperers. Well, he's like a pitching whisperer. Now maybe he gets a managerial job. Maybe when Cora eventually is pushed out, Bailey's the guy.
There you go. That's perfect.
There's a pick for you. Not a pick, a take. No, stop with the Veritek thing. It's been going on for a decade. It's not going to happen. Well, it could happen, I guess, but it's like that's been a thing for a long time. Sorry. All right, Tanner, go ahead. Take us home. Couple totals, then we'll go.
Yeah, before I start, 2 things. I've been so surprised at Pete Fairbanks' performance this year in the Rays bullpen. That's been one of the more surprising underperformance in really all of baseball, in my opinion. Second thing, have any of us considered that Tyler Anderson might be having an Angels in the outfield type scenario here? If you guys remember that 90s kids movie, I don't know. I haven't heard anyone talking about it.
That's a great movie.
I'm going to introduce that into the public sphere.
Yeah.
Total, I got 2 totals for you, an under and an over. First one is Nationals at the Padres under 7.5. I wouldn't buy it at 7, but I think any reasonably juiced 7.5 is fine. Also, keep an eye on Twitter or follow some Padres beat writers because most places are listing Yu Darvish as the starter, but MLB.com actually has Adam Mazur, and this becomes unplayable if Darvish isn't starting. But I played at action with Darvish on at some book, so just keep an eye on that. The Padres obliterate right-handed pitching, but they are mere mortals against lefties. 94 WRC plus on the year. They have trended up lately, but facing Mackenzie Gore still puts the Padres in their worst split. And I think really highly of the Nationals' young southpaw. He can rely a little too heavily on his four-seam at time, which can get him in trouble with hard contact. But it's a really good four-seam. Second among all fastballs in Stuff Plus, 131. Trails only Jared Jones. He throws it 97 with a high approach angle behind super extension with great ride. And conversely, the Padres have posted a 680 OPS against left-handed four-seam fastballs this year. It's a bottom 10 mark. On the flip side, the Nats are also a below-average lineup against right-handed pitching. And Darvish, he keeps losing stuff, and I think that his prime is not going to last much longer. I think he's over the hill. But he shows really good command. He's smart with his locations. He's smart with his sequencing. He avoids barrels, and he's kept his expected run indicators in the 3s. And so that's all I can ask for against a mediocre Nationals lineup. And I really like these 2 bullpens. the Padres have underperformed in the back end. They still rank top 10 in bullpen expected FIP. They're first in bullpen stuff plus, which is surprising. And you should go check out the advanced pitching model numbers on the Padres bullpen. Jeremiah Estrada, 145 in 30 innings. Robert Suarez, 136 in 25 innings. Adrian, I don't even know how to say his name. Adrian Morejon. Anyways, 122 in 21 innings. And also the Padres have a great defense that gets swept under the rug sometime. The Nationals are also a top 10 bullpen by WAR and expected FIP. And they are no longer just the Hunter Harvey, Kyle Finnegan show. Even though those two are still really good, Dylan Floro and Derek Law are helping the whole unit's depth. And the best part about this, Petco is a pitcher's park, more or less. We have crossfield winds tomorrow with 70-degree temps, so relatively cool. And Ballpark Pals weather model projects a minus 10% run factor. So I think we're going to get a low-scoring game in this one across everything. For my second one, Guardians, Orioles over 9. I would play this to 9.5, minus 110. And I feel like such a square taking a super low under and a super high over. But this is a dead shot over. No, I mean, these are the top 2 offenses against right-handed pitching over the past month. Baltimore has a 152 WRC plus. Cleveland has a 130 WRC plus. Logan Allen, starting pitcher for the Guards, is a mess. A negative WAR, a sub 10% strikeout minus walk rate, a terrible home run problem, a 10% barrel rate, and a 50% hard hit rate. And for the Orioles, Cole Irvin is a negative regression candidate. His expected run indicators are a run higher than his actual. He's lost velocity on his fastball. Among MLB pitchers with at least 70 innings pitched this season, these two rank second to last and seventh to last in Stuff Plus. And everyone is playing in 90-degree temps with winds blowing out towards center field. The bullpens scare me a little bit off this over because these are 2 fairly high-quality bullpens. But like Ballpark Pals model projects over 11 runs for this game, and it just seems too obvious. So I'm falling for the trap.
All right. We believe in you. Don't worry about the trap. We got you. All right. That's it. I think we're done. Don't forget to download the free award-winning Action Network app and leave your 5-star ratings and reviews for some giveaways later this month. Chance at Action swag or a free Action Pro subscription for 1 year. Also, the Action Network Discord. There's a link in the episode description of this podcast to the Discord channel. Check that out as well if you see fit. For BJ Cunningham, Tanner McGrath, Brendan Glasheen, we're back at the end of the week for Friday Best Bets. Thanks for tuning in to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We are presented by our friends at BetMGM. Best of luck. We hate you, Tyler Anderson.